Hello, folks. Welcome to this episode of Al's Joint. As we start this episode off, we're listening to What Does It Take by Junior Walker and the All-Stars, one of my all-time favorites. If you happen to like this episode, be sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. Today, we're going to delve right into the big question: was this election rigged? Let's take the gloves off and let's get at it. So let's jump right into it, folks. The big question of our generation is, was the 2024 election rigged and stolen? But first, let me give you a philosophical approach from both liberals and conservatives. Liberals believe that democracy is so precious, that it's better to lose an election, even if you feel you were cheated, than it is to destroy democracy. And conservatives, on the other hand, believe that winning an election is more important than democracy. The last 5 years haven't taught you anything. It should have taught you that. They'll do anything to win, even if it means destroying our democratic way of life. So the question becomes, why did they do it? Easy. You send Elon Musk and his computer hacks into all the battleground states, and you figure out a way to manipulate the machines so that you get the results you want. It doesn't mean that you manipulate all the machines. You don't go to the contested areas. You go to the outlying areas. For example, in Pennsylvania, the percentage of Republicans who voted, it varied differently depending on what area of the state you were in. So if you were in the Philadelphia area and the Western PA area, Harrisburg, you're not going to be able to manipulate the machinery because there are folks looking over your shoulder. But when you go into what they call the T, right, where there's isolated red counties, you get those numbers to peak. And if you do your homework, you do your research, you'll see that the percentage of registered voters peaked in those areas that were predominantly red, because there's not going to be anybody looking over your shoulder. So you can do that there. And if you're in a swing state, those are the states, all you got to do is manipulate 60, 70, 80,000 votes you're in. If you got millions and millions of folks who are voting, that's easy to do. Now we all know why Elon Musk was given a position he was given the right to run or wreak havoc some of our most needed agencies, to gut Social Security, to go after Medicare, to be in the White House giving press conference like he was the president, because he was the one who put Trump in office. And that's why you also notice that when they had their little feud, they quickly made up. It was never about Epstein. Everybody knows that Donald Trump is a creep. Everybody knows he's a whoremonger. Everybody knows he's a freak. Everybody knows he likes young women. They know all of that is built in. They don't care. They wouldn't care if they have videos with him at a Diddy party butt naked in a pool with infants. They wouldn't care. So that's not the reason why they had to make up. The reason they had to make up because they feared that if Elon Musk in one of his drug-induced press conferences start putting the truth out about what he did in the election when he told him he wouldn't have been elected without him. Had nothing to do with money. There was enough money being thrown out there that they didn't need Elon Musk's money, but what they did need was his ability to rig an election. So now you know. So folks, some of you may have heard of a fellow named Alan Lichtman. He's an older gentleman. He's been predicting presidential elections for the better part of 50 years. He's been correct every time except in 2000. If you remember that was a Gore-Bush hanging Chad, which came down to a Supreme Court decision to decide who was the president. That was the only one he missed until the Harris-Trump in 2024. That kind of tells you something, folks, right? He used every indicator that he used over the last 50 years to get it right. And be honest with you, the Gore-Bush would end up being such a toss-up that even if you say if that was his only loss, that's still a hell of a record. And he predicted Harris would win, and the polls had Harris winning. They had her winning in some of the swing states until Elon Musk visited those swing states. So the big question, what do we do about it? We concentrate on the midterms. We take back the House. We take back the Senate. and we make sure those elected officials look into Elon Musk and look into the 2024 election and the fraud, we make sure it never happens again. If you notice, we didn't hear any more talk about rigged elections when the Republicans won, because that's all they ever wanted to do. They never cared about democracy. They only cared about getting their way. Now, as progressives, we have to fight back. We can't be reacting to everything. We have to be proactive sometimes. Quit thinking that we have to figure out how to get along with those far right-wing nuts. We don't. To hell with them. I don't give a damn about any one of them. They don't care about this country. They don't care about anybody that doesn't look or think like them. So let's concentrate on the midterms, and let's get ready to take this country back and maintain our democracy, maintain our decency. So folks, on this segment, I want to raise an issue that's been bugging me and getting under my skin for years now, right? But unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you ask, a family member of mine told me that they voted for Trump. Yes, a black family member told me they voted for Trump. When I asked them why, they told me because their pastor told them to, because Trump was the next coming or blessed by God or Jesus. I don't know. I don't know what the hell to say on this, but my response was, God ain't tell you to do a damn thing. Folks are using God now to justify voting for this demon. If you Google Donald Trump and Bible verses that he's violated, there's a whole slew. Think about that. You can actually Google Donald Trump and Bible verses that he's violated, and you'll get a whole slew of sites to go on. That's ridiculous. Now, I cherry-picked a couple of them, right? There's a ton of them to use, but it clearly kind of lets you know what we're up against. And I don't claim to be a pastor or knowledgeable of the Bible. I'm just reading what I've found. So in Deuteronomy 10:17-19 states, "For the Lord our God, God of gods and Lord of lords, who shows no partiality and accepts no bribes." That kind of condemned Donald Trump already, right? Well, let's go on. Matthew 25, verse 38. Jesus instructs his disciples, at the last judgment, their treatment of immigrants will reflect their treatment of him. The Lord owns all lands, regardless of national borders. That's interesting. Leviticus 19, verse 33 and 34. When a foreigner resides among you, you do not mistreat them. Love them as yourself, for you too were once foreigners. I am the Lord your God. But I guess that means nothing if you're idolizing the orange man in the White House, regardless of what God says. So let me give you a quote from Jesus through Mark chapter 7, verse 21 and 22. For from within, out of the heart of man, come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, wickedness, deceit, sensuality, envy, slander, pride, foolishness. If Donald Trump hasn't committed every one of those, and you call yourself Christians, you call yourself evangelists, and you brought a fake God among you, you can't make this stuff up, folks. Well, folks, I want to thank you for joining me for today's episode. Please make sure you comment. I want to know what you think. And don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. I'm trying to reach 500 subscribers. We're well on our way. We can get there with you. Don't forget to join me next Friday on my next podcast of Al's Joint. Peace.
This segment of Al's Joint is brought to you by Pave the Way Parking.